tremendous work that's being done in Western Pennsylvania as we grapple with any number of issues, from the heroin epidemic to cyber issues, et cetera. I want to go to Mr. Rosenstein. The IG report noted that there were discussions about whether to employ a special counsel, but Mr. Horwitz's recent testimony was that Attorney General Lynch made the decision that she did not need to recuse. Furthermore, on page 5 of the report summary, the IG's team said, quote, we did find evidence that Comey never seriously considered requesting a special counsel. Do you think that Attorney General Lynch should have recused herself, especially after meeting with former President Clinton on the tarmac in Arizona?
Congressman, I don't have any opinion about that. I would recommend you ask Attorney General Lynch. I don't know what her state of mind was.
What level of interaction can an Attorney General have with a potential witness of a criminal investigation before they should recuse themselves?
Every case, Congressman, is evaluated based on the facts and circumstances. I believe she said that she consulted with ethics experts, and that's what I would do as well. So I don't know what the nature of that conversation was.
I would hope that if a situation similar to what she encounters you, there would be a recusal. You know, throughout this report, decisions related to the investigation were politically driven, whether or not they were partisan. I see evidence of them wanting to wrap things up because of an impending election. On page 4 of the summary, Director Comey also had conversations with Deputy Attorney General Yates about insisting that a special counsel be appointed the closer they got to the election. But his statement to Yates was really to pressure the DOJ to induce the department to move more quickly to obtain the Mills and Samuelson Culling laptops and to complete the investigation. I see decisions with respect to Director Comey's statements on July 2nd, October 28th, all driven by politics. And so we just had a conversation about whether what's going to control the timelines of investigations. Again, I see politics driven throughout this. Do you not?
Congressman, I do. If I could address the preface to your question, Attorney General Sessions and Director Wray and I have an understanding that we're going to have a candid relationship. We recognize some of the things that went wrong may have involved personal interactions between leaders of the department. That's not going to happen on our watch. With regard to the Inspector General's report, I wasn't there. The Inspector General did a very thorough investigation. I would have to respect his conclusions.
A little bit about the special counsel. How is the power of the special counsel limited? The special counsel has the same powers as a U.S. attorney, correct?
Within the scope of his responsibility, yes.
A U.S. attorney can be discharged at will by the president?
A Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney can. We also have some non-Senate-confirmed U.S. attorneys.
But the regulation that appoints the special counsel does not provide for such, correct?
Correct.
It has to be for cause.
Makes him a subordinate official. So unlike a U.S. attorney, he can be fired by the Attorney General, which a U.S. attorney would technically require the president's.
Well, there's a question about subordinate, and I just want to ask you that. There's some in the legal community have made an argument that Mr. Mueller's appointment violates the Appointments Clause of the Constitution, essentially pointing out that he is operating as a principal officer instead of an inferior officer, which does require presidential nomination and Senate confirmation. Are you aware of these arguments, and do you have an opinion on them?
Yes, I'm aware of the arguments. I believe they're wrong, but law professors are free to make whatever arguments they like. Defendants can make whatever arguments they like and have them adjudicated. I'm fairly confident that the argument is wrong.
Question about the frustration that we've had with respect to documents and redactions. I think I've heard you say today that you want to help us with what you call legitimate congressional oversight, and that you would provide information that we need to fulfill our duties. Who is the arbiter of what is legitimate and what you think we need, as opposed to us making that decision?
I don't know that I used or didn't intend to use legitimate in that context. All what you're doing is legitimate. The question would be whether or not a particular document was withheld for a proper reason. And my understanding, Congressman, I know you aren't personally involved in these discussions, Mr. Lausch is. My understanding is that we actually have a fair amount of agreement with regard to...
Understand where this is all coming from, because we see things that are redacted that should have been redacted, things that are redacted to protect somebody at the FBI, whether it has to do relationship with Strzok and the judge, or with respect to the credibility of a witness in the Flynn investigation. They're redacted, they shouldn't have been, and that it just adds to our skepticism.
Yes,
and documents are withheld, and then you go out and say something about extortion. And extortion,
well,
I'm looking
I wasn't
at the
referring
elements.
just to the documents, sir.
Well, I
was referring to other threats that have been made.
A crime. I think the word was extortion, and I mean, isn't there an element of money or property of value in that? And again, it adds to the environment that has not been helpful as we look for the information, as we conduct our legitimate oversight.
No, I appreciate that. I think what I said was something to the effect that the department will not be extorted. It wasn't an allegation of crime.
Well, again, you have to use your language. Come on, you're a prosecutor. Well, you know that term is loaded.
No, I understand, Congressman, but I don't think anybody thought I was accusing anybody of a crime. My point is that we have to do the right thing. People are going to make criticisms. People are going to make threats. We need to do the right thing. And I think the American people need to be reassured, Congressman, that we're not going to respond to any improper demands, no matter who makes them. That was simply my point. But I do think what I would appreciate if some of you would keep in mind is the reason you know that those redactions were inappropriate is because when we were asked about it, we turned over the unredacted documents. We weren't trying to hide anything. Now, somebody may have made a mistake in the redaction process, and as I said, I acknowledge
that, but I see my time has expired.
The FBI was following protocols for these redactions that we determined were wrong, and we changed them. So I think we've resolved that, and so I believe that we're acting in good faith. I think the folks we're dealing with understand we're acting in good faith. I met personally, along with Director Wray, with Chairman Goodlatte and Chairman Nunes and Speaker Ryan, and they brought to my attention some specific items which we're addressing. So I believe, Congressman, that we are complying with valid oversight requests, and we're going to provide you everything that's relevant and appropriate for us to provide.
You recognize the gentleman from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The chairman said earlier this morning that